Well, what do we have here? Today, I'm going to be going through the players with the highest risk/reward factor going into the 2024 season. I'm just going to talk through them a little bit and kind of highlight what their ceiling looks like and what their floor looks like and how I feel about them as a whole. Let's do it! All right, first we are going to start off with Mr. Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Saquon is currently going as RB5, ADP 11, so, right at the end of the first round in a 12-man league. So the thing about Saquon is injuries. As we can see here, last year, 14 games. Year before, 16, that's pretty good. 13-13. That is worrisome. I drafted Saquon Barkley in 2020 in the first round with like a very primo pick. I want to say it was top 5, and he completely ruined me and tore his ACL week 2. So that kind of turned me off of him for a while, but I love his new situation with the Eagles, man. I mean, here's the thing. There are a few outcomes for Saquon Barkley. He's injured the majority of the season and doesn't do anything. He manages to stay healthy, and, he's good, but he's really not getting very many touchdowns because of, tush push, Jalen Hurts rushing upside. Or 3, his ceiling is with Kelsey gone, and maybe the Eagles pulling back on the tush push a little bit. They want to give Hurts, a little bit of break from that because that play is just not a recipe for a healthy quarterback, unfortunately. So if that happens and Saquon starts getting a bunch of red zone touches, that would be amazing. I mean, he's a big play running back. He's super capable of breaking down the field for, like a 40-yard touchdown. But if he starts getting those red zone carries, oh man, it's going to be crazy because, that Eagles O-line is so good. Even with Kelsey gone, they're still elite. And Saquon has never, ever had an O-line of that caliber with the Giants. So I think that his ceiling is just incredibly high at this point. I think I'm a little bit higher on him than some people, but he's also scary as hell because he is incredibly injury prone. So with that being said, that is the first player on this list. Yeah, I mean, if he stays healthy this year, I think he is more than capable of recreating this 2018 season. 1,300 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, 700 more receiving, and 4 touchdowns. Now, the only area I pull back there is that I know that Jalen Hurts doesn't exactly throw a ton of screen passes. I know that he was one of the lowest ranked quarterbacks in terms of percentage of screens thrown, but still, we're talking about ceilings here. So moving on. All right, so moving on to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that he's going to have a great rookie season. Now, the issue with Marvin Harrison is that he's currently going as the wide receiver 9, ADP 17, which is early in the second round, which that's definitely a little bit scary because, I mean, Puka Nacua last year, so he had this historic rookie season and, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he finished as the wide receiver 4. So for Marvin Harrison to live up to this draft pick, he has to have a season pretty close to that, right? And that was a historic season. That was the most yards ever put in the stat book by a rookie wide receiver. So that is a very hard thing to bank on, I think. I mean, really, he has to get at least 1,200 yards and at least 6 touchdowns, ideally more than 6 touchdowns for him to be worth this pick. So that's why he is kind of scary, he could still have a good rookie season, put up 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a good rookie season for sure. But in that circumstance, I mean, he would not be living up to his current ADP. So that's why he just worries me a little bit. His ceiling, I think, is probably 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns. He definitely is a prospect capable of breaking this record. But at the same time, I mean, Matt Stafford is definitely more capable of supporting wide receivers in fantasy than Kyler Murray is. So we'll see. I think that, Marvin Harrison could be great. He could be an awesome pick, but I also think that his path to disappointment is much more likely than his path to being worth the 17th overall pick, if that makes sense. But not saying he can't do it, but he's definitely a risky pick. All right, so next we are going to be talking about Devon Achane. So he is going as the RB10 off the board, ADP of 23, which is the end of the second round. So I think that it's very, very possible for Devon Achane to completely smash this ADP out of the park. I mean, we've seen his talent, 800 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, 200 more receiving yards in 11 games, and 4 games started. And some of those games he was kind of sidelined because he was a little bit injured. So, I mean, we've seen it. 7.8 yards per carry that's a historic number. That's for sure going to fall down to earth a little bit. We'll see how much it actually does. But, I mean, his pure talent is just crazy. If he can stay healthy, which is a big ask from him, he's definitely dealt with injuries throughout his career. But if he can, then he could absolutely end up as like a top 3 running back for sure. But he's a small guy, who really knows if he's capable of supporting that big of a workload. I think that with Devon Achane, there's kind of 2 scenarios. If he's healthy the whole season, he's likely going to be a top 5 running back in the league in terms of fantasy. And the other scenario in my mind is that he gets injured in the first few weeks and kind of deals with lingering injuries throughout the season, and it kind of dampers his parade a little bit. So, the future could possibly be very, very bright, or it could be very, very dim. I mean, just look at these points, man. 50, 25, 21, 23, 21. He's a great player, so hopefully he can stay healthy, and if he does, he's going to be a complete home run. All right, next we are moving on to Sir Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. So Drake London is kind of an interesting situation. Obviously, these stats they don't wow you. They don't jump out from the page at you. 2 touchdowns last year is just brutal, but if you saw Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke in the red zone last year, then you understand. But yeah, no, I mean, I think Drake London is incredibly talented. He's 6'4", and he's just he's super wiry. He's one of those dudes who can extort their bodies to make insane catches. I remember there's a few of them last year where he just absolutely stretched out, and I was like, how in the fuck did you do that, my guy? Yeah, I mean, pretty underwhelming stats for sure. But, I mean, if you look at games where he had 6 or more receptions, I'm not going to base this off targets because he was getting thrown some dog shit balls last year, so fuck that. But 6 or more receptions, he went double digits in every single one except for this one, 8.4. So, I don't know. I think the talent is there. We're kind of just banking on that offense getting the ball to him and Kirk Cousins looking like at least somewhat of his former self. He may not be completely 100%, but he needs to be at least 95, 90% of what Kirk Cousins was in the past. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Kirk Cousins support the hell out of wide receivers in the past. So I think that it is absolutely in the realm of possibility for Drake London to finish as a top 5 wide receiver, without a doubt. I love watching him play. It was really frustrating watching him suffered through terrible quarterback play. I mean, he's had Heineke, Mariota, Ridder, just absolute shithounds. So hopefully Drake London can be sick this year because I think he is fucking dope. All right, next we're going to talk about Cooper Kupp. So he's going as wide receiver 21, ADP 39, which is early in the 4th round. So Cooper Kupp almost had 2,000 yards 2 years ago. I guess 3 years ago now at this point. Math is hard, but I mean, 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. That is absolutely ridiculous, honestly. But I mean, we all know he has suffered his injuries, 12 games last year, and at least 3 more of those 12, he was definitely still suffering from an injury and not really playing very much. 9 the year prior, and I mean, aside from this 2021 season, he's never played a full season. I guess, actually, that's not true, 2019, but still, you get the point of what I'm saying. I personally am more on the side where I am off of Cooper Kupp. I'm not super interested in drafting him, but I think if you want to shoot for those high risk, high reward players, absolutely a good one to go for. I mean, you're getting him at the beginning of the 4th round, and with Nacua there, he's not going to recreate this, right? He's just not going to get 145 receptions. That's not going to happen. But what I do think could happen is that both Kupp and Nacua could put up 1,200 yards or something around there, and hopefully close to 10 touchdowns each. I know Stafford wasn't throwing a ton of touchdowns last year, but touchdowns are volatile, and I think they'll probably bounce back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if he were to do that, 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, let's say, that early 4th round pick would definitely be worth it, I think. That ceiling of old is just not quite there anymore, unfortunately. We saw last year, he's still capable of these bigger games, so we will see what exactly happens. I would not be shocked if he suffers an injury at some point, and we're kind of just seeing the downfall of Cooper Kupp, kind of the fall off of his career. But who knows? He could have a bounce back season and go crazy, make that 4th round pick super worth it. Okay, so real quick, I just want to talk about Malik Neighbors. I did just talk about him in my league-winning rookies video that I just uploaded. I just want to bring him up real quick because, you know, I think Malik Neighbors' argument to be on this list can really be summed up in one sentence. Daniel Jones bad, Malik Neighbors good. Malik Neighbors is going to be the engine of that offense, but the question is, can Danny Dimes do enough to make him worth that pick? We don't know. Okay, next, moving on to Aaron Jones. He's currently the RB18, ADP of 55, which is going in the middle of the 5th round. So, I mean, I love Aaron Jones. I know that he has some injury concerns, but, I mean, really, they're not that bad. You know, through 2019 to 2022, he missed 3 games, you know, in 4 seasons. So that's really not that bad. Hopefully he can, you know, come back from an 11-game season last year and play almost every game this season. You know, I do kind of anticipate him to miss at least 1 or 2. That's just how it goes with running backs his age, but if that's the case, that would be perfect. I'm super fine with that as long as he's not playing fucking 11 games this year or, you know, missing the whole season or some shit like that. And we saw last year that Aaron Jones very clearly still has that big play ability that he always flashed. So I think that the ceiling is absolutely there, but, you know, my concerns come with injuries. The Vikings run blocking unit was not good last year, and we were just bad in the red zone last year as a whole. I mean, Alexander Mattison had 0 rushing touchdowns, so that's a little scary. You know, obviously Aaron Jones is way better than Alexander Mattison, but I think our O-line is going to need to help him out a little bit more than they did Madison. But yeah, I see a ceiling where he finishes as a top 10 running back, and I also see a scenario where he gets injured in the first few weeks and is pretty much gone the whole season. So, all right, last one. I want to talk about Christian Watson a little bit. So I loved Christian Watson in 2022. I thought that his game was so impressive, and I was like, this dude's going to be an absolute stud, and that has not happened. He has been incredibly injured, and it's been really frustrating. I had him in a couple leagues last year, and it was really tough because I wanted to believe every week. I was like, oh, this is going to be his week, but then I'm like, no. Probably just going to sit on the sideline with his fucking imbalanced hamstrings or whatever the fuck was wrong with him. But, I mean, shit, man. Look at this 2022 game log. Like, between, let's see, week 10 and week 13, he just went dumb for 4 weeks straight. 30, 19, 19, 22. Like, that is amazing. And you may be thinking, oh, that was Owen Wadges. Well, guess what? Jordan Love is now the highest paid quarterback in the league. He is a good quarterback and is definitely capable of supporting Watson as long as he is healthy. And when Watson was out there last year, he was the primary target over everybody else in that offense. Jayden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, whoever the fuck else, Bo Melton. So yeah, I think that if Christian Watson did truly fix his hamstring imbalance, then he could be an amazing pick. I mean, he's wide receiver 44, ADP 104, going towards the end of the 9th round. Like, if he does stay healthy, that pick could go nuts, honestly. Like, I think Christian Watson easily, I mean, if he's healthy, he's for sure going to be in like the top 24 wide receivers, and I think he could go even higher than that. So we don't really know. We still really haven't seen that much of him, which is really interesting. But I love him as a prospect, and he certainly passed the eye test for me, so I am hopeful with that one. I'm down to, you know, use a 9th round pick to take Christian Watson. All right, so there's 8 players for you that have a high risk, high reward factor. There's certainly more out there, but, you know, I really only want to talk about a select few because I like to keep these videos shorter, and I want to be able to make another video talking about more players like this. So, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time. Deuces.